Hello, beautiful light-filled souls. Trisha Barker here. I'm excited to share this conversation with Jeff Cleckley today. Jeff is someone who had an out-of-body experience and near-death experience in 2013 caused by an overdose of opioid painkillers that he was prescribed for long-term injuries sustained during his service in the Army, the 82nd Airborne Division. But in his experience, he learned so much about how to live. And that's why I think this particular story is important because it really focuses on returning your power, returning your self-love, and also finding that way to let go of all the darkness that is inundating our world. And darkness, by that I mean fear and worry and sadness and anger. And we have a really good conversation to share with you about that. I hope you'll tune in and check out Jeff's website, and please check out my healing community as well. Love to connect with you. You know, one of the things that I think is important is healing, and I spend a lot of my time meditating and healing and being in that realm. I don't spend a lot of time watching television or doing things that is feeding my brain information. I prefer to be creative, and I think it is important to be a conscious creator in your life. That's another topic we talk about in this interview. So let's just go ahead and jump in, and all of our links are below. Thank you. One thing that hit me about you is you are just so authentic. And so I'd love it if you would just tell my audience a little bit of where you were right before your near-death experience.
So I'll start with the things that were happening to me leading up to it, and so I'll go back to December 21st of 2012. And one day I wake up and I was excited about Christmas and going to shopping for my kids, for my children. And at the time, there were two that were living at home. The other two were they were grown and going about their lives in college. And so that morning, I wake up and and I had been dealing with this thing with my back from being in the military for all these years, trying to get help from the VA and all that. And I was just taking over the counter pain medication. And that day, I had been dealing with it. It was hurting. I had my job that I worked, I poured copper. It was in a mill, a copper mill. So it was backbreaking work. It was strenuous work. And that day I woke up and my back goes out and I can't even walk anymore, you know. I can't even walk, and I'm on the living room floor. And weeks prior, I had some dental surgery, and I had some Vicodin in the bathroom that I hadn't used in the medicine cabinet. So I crawled. I literally pulled myself because my legs would not work, my back would not work. I pulled myself all the way to the bathroom. I pulled myself up onto my sink, and I took these painkillers, which that started for me, that started the whole spiral to where leading up to my near death experience. So I can't walk. I'm in this position where I can't walk. I can't do anything. And so a month of goes by, then I go to my job. They say, they put me on light duty, but at this job they tell me, we don't have any light duty. So now I'm just off collecting this temporary disability. And even during the month of December, just going into January, I contract pneumonia. Now this, I don't know what's going on with me. I got pneumonia. I can't walk. Every cough hurts because my back is in so much pain. I contract pneumonia, and then right after I get over this pneumonia, I contract MRSA. In March, I think it was February, March, I contract MRSA. This is 2013. We're going into 2013, and I'm in the hospital for 7 days. I'm separated from my wife. I have my children, shared custody, and I'm living alone. So I have no one helping me. No one. My father, he would show up every once in a while, but I contract MRSA. I'm in the hospital for 7 days. They have me on this IV, and I'm on this IV of antibiotics. And then after the seventh day, sixth day, or something like that, the doctor, he comes, sits by my bedside. I didn't know how serious it was, and he sat by my bedside and he said, "Look, this is MRSA. People die from this, and we used the strongest one left. We tried every antibiotic through this 6 days, and you weren't responding. We tried the strongest one, and thank God it worked. And you're here. He said, if that wouldn't have worked, we wouldn't have had anything else for you. And I'm thinking, wow. And he said, we didn't get it all, so we have to do surgery on your leg. So they went in, and I got a 12-inch scar on my leg. They had to go to the bone and clean out all of the surgery. So now I can't walk. I'm on, I mean, I just had surgery on my leg. I just survived MRSA. And now I'm on these painkillers for the 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 leg and my back. So I'm on these opioids, and here we go. We can fast forward to April 6th, the day it happened in 2013. And one day I was recovering. I could walk with a cane, and so I was tired of being in the house, and I had a female friend that I was supposed to have a date with that night, and I was getting ready, and I felt pain, so I took two of my painkillers, and I'm getting ready. I don't feel any significant change in it, and I take two more, and then now I get these painkillers. They make you high and loopy, so I I forget that I took those two and took two more. So this was in a span of maybe 35, 45 minutes. I took six hydrocodone, oxycodone. I think it's oxycodone, one of those, hydrocodone, one of those. It was a powerful painkiller prescribed by the VA, and it happened. I started to vomit. I started to profusely sweat, and I knew something was wrong, and I'm sweating, and I vomit everything that's in my stomach, and now I'm just dry heaving, and I feel myself slipping in and out of consciousness. I feel the most excruciating pain, in my stomach, and then I fall to the floor. I'm still dry heaving on my side, and that's when I'm fighting for breath. I'm fighting to live. And then all of a sudden, boom, I come out of my body, and I see myself laying there on the floor, and now I'm being drawn. I felt a strong tug of and I'm realizing at that point I'm dying. And I'm dying. I'm upset because I have a son who's 4 years old. I don't want to leave him here. That was the biggest thing at that point. I'm dying. I feel myself being pulled through this tunnel, and I'm moving at a fast clip through this tunnel, but I'm not feeling any wind rushing up. Being a paratrooper, and if you're moving through space like that, you're feeling wind. I'm not feeling. I'm assessing everything, because that was one of the things in the military, to assess every situation. I'm assessing everything, and I'm pulled to this place, and I'm here, and it was a beautiful place. I mean, if I can describe it, it was the most love that I've ever felt on this earth. I've never felt anything like that. I always say my father is a very loving man. He we developed this thing where he gets a big hug from me, from a kid, from a baby, and now even 50 years old, I see my father. He's like, "Where's my big hug? Come here." That love. I felt that is the love my father had for me. But I'm just comparing the love that I felt.
Oh,
The love
yes.
of your father and your mother. It was even greater than
Oh,
that.
yes. Yes.
Greater. This love was greater than any love I've ever felt, and I'm like amazed at it. And now I get there, and it's time for this life review. Which most people talk about this life review, and you hear people say, "My whole life flashed before my eyes." Oh yes, you get to see it, and I got to feel it. I got to see it and feel it. The pain I inflicted on people, I could feel that pain. I could feel the conviction of doing wrong, and these things that they were telling me and showing me, as I'm. Oh, I forgot the three beings that appeared in front of me, and then they were very comforting. It made dying easy. I tell you that. There's something about that if I hadn't held on to my son, I would have went with them. I would have gone. That's
So,
how beautiful
were these beings angels, or were what do you know who they were?
If I can explain it in this hindsight, 12, 13 years later, it was, if I was it God in three beings? Was it the creator? Because the way I address them, because now they're telling me these things, you're showing me my life. And as we're going through the scenes of my life, there's sort of a chastisement for the bad things. It's not a yelling at you. It's like, next time do it this way. You were in this situation. Next time, do it this way. You know, Yet I was angry. I was angry because I was dying and I was going to leave my son behind. So I took it as chastisement, and these beings, they were loving. I mean, there was only love there. People fear death. I fear it not. And they think the roughest part is just getting past the veil.
I
That
know
part where you're
it's
sitting there.
the physical stuff hurts. That is
Yes, yes.
complete freedom.
Yeah, but once you're there, and I'm sure I tell people that I don't want them to misconstrue, because there are those who are thinking about just ending it all. There's a an atonement for that. There's a thing that must happen for that. So I wouldn't recommend that. It is a beautiful thing, yet we are supposed to fight for every breath here. We're supposed to for some reason. And so as I stand before them, they're showing me my life, and then the good things that I've done, they give you a pat on the back. That's how you do it. This is it. Great. That was a great thing you did. You fed that homeless man. You did this, you did that. Those were great things. Yet these things you need to work on. And so I didn't want to leave my son behind. And after the review, it was only love there. And after the review, they asked me, what do I have to say for myself? And that's when the reality of it kicking in, that they were showing me in my mind. I was feeling in my mind that I was about to recycle, reincarnate, and come back and work on those things that they showed me that I did wrong. And when it came to the time for me to say, to speak, what do you have to say for yourself, pretty much? That's when I don't know where it came from. I said, look, I don't know who's running this, you or whoever's running this thing, but you sent me down there and you never showed me how to do it. And uh you never how did it go? You never showed me how to do it. Yet I stand before you and you tell me I did it wrong. I said, if I go with you, because I was about to reincarnate and come back. If I go with you, great, because I even said it, this is the best feeling I've ever felt in all of my life, my existence. Um, I'll go with you. Yet, if you teach me how to do it and send me back, I'll do it right. And I'll do it right. And with that, man, it was like the heavens lit up behind me, I mean, in front of me, and there was a million beings of light, and they all began to speak to me. And while they're speaking to me, these three beings are speaking to me, and they're telling me about mankind and how it is we are being drawn into a way of thinking that is leading to our destruction, and we don't even realize that we're being corralled into this way of thinking. We think we have choices, but we don't. I mean, we think we only have a couple choices. They only give us a few choices in this life with every major thing that happens to humanity. Yet there are more choices that we can use to bring us out of the human. I don't know, there's a human, how can I explain it, a dilemma, a human dilemma that we need to come out of, and we're all being drawn into our towards our destruction. And as they're speaking these things, this million beings are putting words, knowledge into my head, and I'm saying to myself, I'm about to say to the main one that was helping me, that was there, I can't comprehend I can't take it. And before I get it out, she says, and it was a female. I said she because it was the one in front of me was a female presence. And I do believe that they come to you with what you're familiar with, what you're comfortable with, and that's in order to keep you comfortable there, wherever keep you, make you comfortable. And so I said, I can't comprehend. As soon as I said that, she said, don't try to understand it. You'll understand it all when you get back. And they began to tell me things that I needed to know, things. And one of the main thing that they put in my head was love everything. And it was like they said it like this: these are things that if you do these three things, you will walk your walk in life will be easy. And so now there's a deal being made. I need to go back and tell humanity what they are telling me about what's going on. And they told me that we have power that we don't know about, and that I need to learn this power. And you'll learn it when you get back, and teach it to the world, teach it to humanity, because we have been shorn of our power. It was taken away from us. And they never gave me who, but when I came back and studied, I found out who and what we're dealing with. And so they tell me these things, and the million beings are putting this information in my head. And the three things that they told me as I stood there before I came back was to love everything, because I am everything. And it was saying this as if it was the creator. I am everything. Yet it had a dual meaning to me, because we are everything. We are God. It said no, it says love everything and fear nothing. For fear and doubt are the destroyer of mankind. And the third was know that I am God. And that had a dual meaning as well, you know, because what I've come to understand and learn is that we are all God in a different form. And there is a true creator. The presence is, it is awesome. And we are, every being has the spirit of this thing we call God in us. And if you hate that person, you're hating the God in you. You're hating the God of all creation. If you hate anything. So these things I live by nowadays. I love everything. I fear nothing. And I know that I am God, and we are all God, and
I'm curious about the downloads that you received. Do you feel like
oh,
many of them continue to open up like each day to support you, or
oh yes. Yes, that's how it happened for me. I came back. Now I had this heightened awareness, um, very sensitive to spirits, could see auras, clairvoyant, audiovoyant. And as I began to meditate, astral projection, many things, healing people with a touch, you know, um, I tell the story about my nephew, as these powers and these things began to grow, as I began to hone them. Um, I wanted to touch that. I wanted to feel heaven again, that feeling of love. So I experimented with different ways to get there. I took mushrooms, marijuana, DMT, and all of these things, yet I never could get that feeling that I felt when I was there. And the only way I found it was deep meditation, you know, deep meditation. And I began to meditate. And for the first 6 months, uh, this being came back with me. I didn't know its name, but it guided me in everything I did. I did not do anything that it did not tell me to do. Everything it said, I did. If it told me to pick up a pencil on the way out the door, I grabbed the pencil, and it would show me that, okay, where you're headed. I'd show up at a place and somebody say, anybody got a pencil? I'm like, wow, this is powerful stuff. And so I didn't know who this being was that was with me, ultimately my higher self, my guardian angel. But 6 months down the road, I as I'm honing these gifts, and as I'm learning, because one of the things I was told to do also, I forgot, was to learn the existence of our existence as as human beings. Learn where you came from, learn who you are, learn this history, the true history, seek it out, find it, because there are answers there. And I began to study everything I could about everything about life.
yes,
Now I had
Yes,
I
a lot of people do that when they transition over too. Like as a soul, when I talk to people's ancestors, they go back through time and they study everything. They want to know.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, yes. And this is the way, this is the secret to unlocking your powers, you know. And so I learned everything about everything. Now, I was in a great position. I was laid off, I was unemployed, and I couldn't work. I was collecting some unemployment for a while. They call it short-term disability for a reason, because they'll cut you off right after 6 months, you know. So I had an opportunity to study and learn and find out who I was. And that's the biggest one, learning who you are and what your part in this existence is, who you are, where you come from. You know, we are divine beings. We are infinite beings of light. We have no end. You know, this body will die, but this is just one experience of eons and eons of life. You know, we this there is no end to this. And people think, you know, when we die, that's it. You know, I they'll see when the time comes that it's not it. You know, so I had to learn these things. I had to learn about myself, and this was 6 months of just deep learning, meditating, learning the power of this mind, the subconscious mind. I learned the power of I am and where that all came from. I studied intensely, you know, who this thing we call God is. You know, I studied many religions, you know, about them and what they do. You know, I studied so many things. And so here we are 6 months past my near death experience. I'm helping people. I'm doing, because that was what I was sent back to do. You know, I'm helping people with this power, you know, even in my local state, my local community. Um, I begin life coaching people just for nothing, just because this is what I was commissioned to do, you know. And so I wanted to know who this being was that is speaking to me, and we can call it many things. Yet when I went into meditation, I found this guided meditation, and I went into this deep meditation, and I finally asked, you know, it had been doing so many things for me, you know, changing my life dramatically for the better. And so I finally asked, and it said its name was Metatron. You know, my guardian angel, his name was Metatron, and I knew nothing about Metatron. I was raised in the Christian background, you know, and there is no, in the Christian, they don't speak of Metatron. Yet when I did the deep dive in the study, I found out, because I'm like, who's Metatron? You know, I heard of that you know, Megatron from the Decepticons. He's a bad guy. So I didn't know who this Metatron was. So I began to study, and then I come find out that Metatron comes from the book of Enoch. Enoch himself was transformed by God into the archangel Metatron. The scribe of God is what he's known as. He if God said it, if Metatron said it, then God said it. This Metatron was Enoch transformed into the angel. They call him the young angel because he's the only one that is not from the the ancient days, from the days of old. He was not created with the other angels. Many eons later he was. So he's the young angel. Yet he is a powerful angel that intercesses with humanity and guides them. And Metatron is not just mine, you know. He's just like the archangel Michael and the Uriel and all of them. We all have access to them if we call on them. um
It's important to call on them. I have a
yes,
question for you.
yes.
Similarly, many near-death experiences talk about, love everything,
Hmm.
you know,
Hmm.
yourself, love everyone else, everything here, and fear nothing.
Hmm.
But the power, that's a different message in
Hmm.
some ways. And I'd love for you to make it modern for us and break it down like right now.
Oh.
How do we love things that we don't want to love? We,
Ah,
how do we see
oh,
tragedy in this world around us
yeah.
and love it? I mean, I can tell you how I do it. I just love the
Mm,
people through it, who are
yeah.
suffering, and I imagine a better future. Um,
Mm,
how do we, what power do we access,
Mm.
others? So those are my deep questions for you.
Okay. So in my own experience, I don't think the interview I spoke of this. Maybe I have. In 1998, my younger brother was murdered in cold blood on his porch. And I vowed from 1998 till the day I had that near death experience that the man who murdered my brother, when he got out of prison, that I would murder him. I would kill him. And what I saw in those 14, 15 years was that I became a dark soul. I had no love for humanity, you know. It made me bitter. I didn't hold doors for old ladies. I didn't do kind things for people. You know, as far as I'm concerned, all of his enemies could do well to be with him. In my mind, it would be well for them to be dead like him. And even at the trial, I jumped over the swinging door. I vowed I tried to stab him in the throat with a pen and kill him right there in the courtroom. This is the hate that I had, and the hate that I had for this man. Yet that day I died and I woke up, it was gone. I had to get rid of it. You cannot experience a thing like God and be that close to him and say, because not only that, while you're there, you're given a mental glimpse of what it really is. And all of those things on earth, they had all fallen away. They had all fallen away. The only thing that was there for me was my son and the love that I had for them. And that's the reason I came back, because I forgot to say that. They told me, focus on the one thing you love on in that earth. If it wasn't for my son, there was nothing else to love. My love for my family, my friends, it all passed away. I still cared about them, but there was no concern for them. My children, I had uh, adult children in college. I had one daughter that was still 16, and then there was my 4-year-old son. And so this love that we have to give to the world, how do I do it? I was shown the big picture that all of this here on earth, it truly means nothing. It truly means nothing. My anger for that man meant nothing when it came to the the uh the the well-being of my soul, my eternity. It meant nothing. So what I can say is that um you have this love for those who misuse you and those who mistreat you, those who have done you wrong. You to love them is to see the bigger picture. I always say I look at it from heaven. Looking at this situation from heaven, you can look at it from boots on the ground here on earth, and you might hurt, harm, and kill somebody. But if you look at it from heaven, man, they're just another soul passing. They're lost. They're lost. And that's one of the ways that I give love, as I realize that these people, as Jesus said it, forgive them for they know not what they do, you know. And that's what I do, man. I forgive them because they're lost. They're so lost that they don't even know they're lost, you know. And so one of the ways I just how do I muster it? How do I muster love? Because there are many people since this instance, since my near death experience, there are a few people who have wronged me since then, that have done me wrong. And I just have to give them love. And I see when I give them love, things work out better for me, but they don't work out better for them. I can give you incidents where, my wife, to right now that I have, she had two suitors, two men that felt like they were still her boyfriend, and they wanted a piece of me. They wanted a part of me, and we had words, and I went into meditation, and I said, Metatron, I just want them out of my life. I don't want any animosity. I just want them out of my life. Well, you have to be very careful what you ask for when you vibrate at this level, because months later the first one passed away in his sleep. You know, a couple months after that, the other one's in a tragic accident. And he passes away. And I go to Metatron and I say, why are they dead? And he says, well, they weren't going to leave your life. They weren't going to leave you alone. And this is the way that it happens. You know, I don't I didn't deliberately want them to pass. I don't believe in coincidences, you know. Didn't deliberately want them to pass. Yet I understand. I look at it from heaven. They'll recycle and they'll have to work their karma out, and they're coming back. They're coming back, and they're going to have to work their karma out. If they don't work it out, this thing just keeps happening for them. Eons here, you know. Um, we must love. God is love. He says love, you know, and if and so I think of that, you know, standing in front of God and knowing that I'm going to have to account for this. So I give everything love. You know, if you spitefully use me, vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. I let God sort them out. Let God handle it. The creator, and there's many. There's more than that. I could tell you more stories about those who've wronged me that they're scared of me now because they think they
I
think
know.
that and they don't understand. They're like, he's possessed. He's got this thing. You know, he's got no. It's God. And you know, when you look at the people who wrong me and the darkness within them, you realize that no, God is on my side, and he takes out those who will even come to the way Metatron shows me is that your enemies will fall at your feet. They won't even get close enough to you.
And sometimes through love, the healing, you might activate someone and they might not ever come to you and tell you that they changed, but
Yeah.
you are that opening, that small
Hmm.
opening where they begin to see something differently. And that is a form of love. And sometimes it's
Yes.
hard for us to be who we are because we activate a lot of people. When you shine bright, you
Yes.
shine light on the darkness and others,
Yes.
the unconsciousness and others. And so there's a lot of misunderstood near-death
Hmm.
experiencers out there. So,
Yeah. Yes, there is. And so and another point is forgiveness. I would like to speak on forgiveness and what I was taught about forgiveness. Now, you have to forgive everyone that has wronged you. You know, you got to forgive them. Even before, when I asked Metatron to get them out of my life, I forgave them for the deeds that they've done to me, you know, just forgave them, you know. And so this forgiveness is your power. This is where you gain your power. When you forgive someone that has done you wrong, oh, there's so much power in that. And there's so much, the universe rewards you for that. Also, what I had to do when I got back was to find everybody that I wronged and ask their forgiveness. And there were those who, no, you're still that same that SOB. No, I'm not going to forgive you. But here's the power in that. When you genuinely, with your heart, ask for forgiveness and they say no, that ball is in their court now. All of the animosity that you both created, that you created with them and they created with you, it's off of you. The burden is lifted. And I seen that in my life when I forgave that man for murdering my brother, and the burden was lifted from me. The darkness that hung over my head for them years, gone, you know, just gone. And so when someone doesn't forgive you, your burden is lifted. And 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 again, that man could have been in prison, uh found God, found Jesus Christ, or whatever they do. You know, he could have done that, and yet I still harbored that. You know, I still harbored that. I don't know where that man is today, and I wish him well. I hope that he has repented, and because he still has to atone for that, you know, unless he gives, gives himself in repentance and asks for forgiveness himself.
so what
Um.
about restorative justice, though? So it's hard to go through, the loss of your brother. I
Mhm.
went through
Mhm.
being sexually assaulted after my near-death
Mhm.
experience. It's hard to go through injustice and not see the world get better in some ways. So, in some ways, it's I think important to give love in real ways, like to work towards justice, in
Yeah.
ways in this world and to love everyone, and
Yeah.
that's the challenge is to focus on justice, but in a loving way. How do you
Yeah.
do that?
Well,
Like that's
I,
the
I use the words Jesus said. He said, love your neighbor as you love yourself. You know, how much do you love yourself? Do you love yourself enough to 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 uh to forgive this person? Do you love yourself enough? Because if you don't love your neighbor as you love yourself, you will you will fall into that darkness, that thing, that thing where you can't forgive, you can't love. Even if you don't love yourself, then this world, you won't love this world. So this is a big thing, that my biggest thing is love yourself. And about that forgiveness, that's the biggest one. Forgive yourself. When you forgive yourself, it releases a burden as well. Forgive yourself. And this is a power. When you forgive yourself, I did wrong. We all, I'm assuming we all done some things that we deplore, that we don't like, and you have to forgive yourself. You ask for forgiveness and then forgive yourself. um this is where the love springs from with me, and it's about self-love. At that, if you love yourself, you can love this whole world. If you love yourself, and then people say, well, how do I love myself? One, don't take any shit from anybody. And what I mean by that is, I'm sorry if I cussed that, I don't want
Oh,
to
no,
put don't take anything from anybody, meaning that I can use a relationships as thing. When you're in a relationship, and this person is lying to you, and they're lying to you, you cut them off. No, I'm not taking this. There are plenty of other people out here who will love me as I love myself. So one is that you take nothing from anybody, and it's not a big puff your chest up. No, it's just, you can say it in the most tactful way. I love myself too much to allow you to abuse me, to allow you to say these words to me. I would rather choose for you to be out of my life, you know and that's how you do it. That's how you love yourself. And I was in that situation in my second marriage, because this power that we are given, this power that we are given, you at one point I felt invincible. I can do anything. And there's one thing that we can't do, and that is to make someone love you.
Mhm.
So,
I'm glad you brought that up because that's sometimes people can fall into that codependent trap where they think
mhm,
they're loving others, but they're really not loving themselves at all.
exactly.
There's a hidden wound that they're trying to
Yeah,
work usually, or save someone at the expense of themselves.
of their self. Yes,
And
yes,
that's a
and
trap. It's a trap. And so love is misunderstood. I like the
definitely.
definition of love as forgiveness. And another thing that's misunderstood that you brought up is when we go there, we don't take the darkness with us. We learn from it, but that's
Hmm.
what we live in that realm. So anything participating with darkness, with anger, revenge, all of that, that stays down here on the ground. That's
Yes, yes.
not of that realm. That's not
Right,
what you
right,
take. And so
right.
what I'm curious and I want to dig a little.
Hmm.
You did your research. Who do you believe took away some of our power or our knowledge about who we are and our
Okay. Okay. So, um, these are unseen dark forces, the dark ones that Metatron schooled me on. Um, there is a darkness, in this universe. There is a darkness. There's a good and a bad, and um, a lot of these dark souls are trapped in our realm. They were sent here never to return to the light. And this realm, there are many, many dark souls, dark spirits and forces. And these forces, they, if we will, and most people do believe that possession is possible, they are possessed by these dark forces. And these dark forces are the ones who, if I was a dark force, very powerful dark force, I wouldn't possess the average human. I would possess those who run this world. And so these dark forces, I seen it. I seen it. Oh my God, I seen it. I'm not a politician. I don't get into politics. Yet I was given a vision about where the politics of this world is about to head. And I seen it when President Trump spoke. I could see the evil in that room. I could see those ones who would not clap for a young boy. It was not them. They were possessed. They're all possessed. And so these possessions come, these dark forces possess our leaders, and they don't even realize they're possessed. They think they're on the right path. Um, I
It's
don't take a side.
drugs and alcohol makes people more like Elon Musk, for instance, uses cocaine. I think that's one of the
Mm,
worst ones. Like for some
yeah,
reason, there's a lot of
yeah,
addiction that comes
yeah,
with it.
yeah. The drugs and alcohol definitely open us up to possession, and many are possessed. The people think I'm addicted. No, you're possessed, and
Mhm.
this dark force wants you to stay in that possession. You
What
know.
about the addiction of social media too? Like I see it as a
Mm,
deep
yeah,
sickness, that there is a
yeah,
sickness that is like sucking people in
yes,
hate. And I'll
yes.
I'll see it myself and I'll be like, oh no, I gotta get off of this. This is
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
not
There
good.
is, there is a, like you said, it's everywhere. Now, when you read the Christian Bible and it says, you are dealing with powers and principalities, the rulers of this air, of the rulers of the air. They rule the air. And where does our all of this media flows through the air? You know, these signals are through the air. These powers, these principalities, that rulers of the darkness of this world, they control the airwaves. They control the media. They control everything, and they possess those who run and own these things, you know. And we think, oh, it's a good thing for us, and it has good things, and that's how it's presented to us. The good of it, you know, they say, yes, you'll be able to connect with these people for all the way across the world, and you'll be able to do this, you know. And so yes, there is, this is not this world that we're in, and I say it all the time, touching heaven and being that close to heaven, this is the hell. Most people think this is, with all of its beauty, with all of its majesty, this world is a beautiful place, but this is the only hell I've seen. This is the hell that I've seen, you know, and with all of its majesty, all of its beauty, you know, the beauty of the mountains and the seas and the oceans and the shores and all of these beautiful animals that dwell here. This is the hell, and most people don't realize it. And our journey is to get back to source, back to the Creator, back to the bosom of our Father.
How do we, as you say this, there's this part of me that wants to fix things with,
Yeah.
and, on an individual level, I work with people and sometimes we clear energies around them. Um,
Yes.
I've cleared from houses, but do you believe, instead of being angry at any politician, should we be praying for
Oh. Oh
their
yes.
wellness?
Always.
Their
Always. Yes, and that is what I always say, that my brothers are misguided. They're misguided. They don't understand what's going on. You know, they get in it, and when you look at the politicians in the beginning, they all got in it to change the world. You know, to change the world for the better. You know, they all get in it, and then all of a sudden, you see a change in them. They, you can't come into a thing and not be affected by it. You can't come into contact with a thing. And in that, in government, you know, when you look back at the history of mankind, and when God said, you don't need a ruler, I want to be your ruler. Let me be the one who guides you. And so we shunned that, and we wanted kings. We wanted a ruler. Mankind wanted a ruler. So that was a door for the dark forces to come in, you know, the dark forces. So I always, like, anyone who is on the wrong side of love and light and the Creator, I always look at them as they are lost and misguided, you know, lost and misguided, possessed by something that is a powerful possession, that is darkness, you know.
And why is it? And we're getting into some deep things, and I don't want to
Yes, ma'am.
alienate people but I do, because I guess I could be more liberal, but I don't understand why there's so much projection. One side is like, oh, he's godly. The other side is like, he's evil, and well,
Mm,
how do you love whatever it is? How do you love
mm.
what it is?
I was shown a vision in
Yeah, let's hear your
2016.
vision.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so I was shown a vision in 2016, and it said that, um, I was told to prepare, and said after Trump At first, I was shown that he would be president when the whole world was saying he wouldn't, and it was Metatron, in my deep meditation, and he showed me the future. He said, after Trump, there will be chaos. There's chaos is coming. Not that Trump is the good guy. It's just that they're setting us up for chaos. The rulers, the principalities of this world are setting us up for chaos. And so Trump gets out of office, we fall into the COVID, is this the chaos that you spoke about? And he's like, no, this is not the chaos. They shut the world down, you know, and this is still not the chaos that. And I thought, man, I got 4 years to. I started prepping, man, the 20-pound bags of rice and weapons because he was showing me chaos. And I said, and Metatron said, you don't need the weapons. You'll be protected yet. If for your peace of mind, if you want the weapons, get them. So I got weapons, I got food and storage, dry goods, everything like that. And then we went through the COVID, and then this 4 years. And I said, okay, Metatron, is this the chaos you was talking? He's like, no, what's coming? And then all of a sudden Trump comes back on the scene, you know and it's like, now, okay, Metatron, you said after Trump he's not done yet. Okay, so he's like, yeah, this thing that's coming, it's going to be worse than COVID's going to look like a hiccup compared to what's coming, so prepare. So this is what I'm doing. We got 4 years to prepare for what's coming. I'm not saying that Trump is the savior. It's just that um I was shown that while Trump is in office, I have time, and we're being set up for what's coming. Something's coming. I don't know what. I haven't been shown that, but just be prepared. I don't want to people to go into fear, because a lot of people are going to see the chaos. And what I've been shown some of it, and it was just for me to imagine if millions of people are cut off from food, what will happen. If millions of people can't get food from grocery stores, if millions of people, okay, we'll say billions of people, can't get food from grocery stores, there will be a chaos that's never been seen in this realm. Because when you have hungry people, when you have starving people, uh, politeness and love, it goes out the window. And now it's survival on every level.
Many near-death experiencers have seen it mostly in America, but
hmm
do you see it more globally?
what I see is that what happens to America, it's a ripple effect.
Mm.
We feel it last. We tend to feel it last in America. So the countries who are already teetering on the brink of financial collapse, they'll go first, you know. And I was gonna hunker down here in America, yet I've been shown that I need to leave this land. I need to go, and I'm gonna be somewhere where the Buddhists pray in the mountains, where the Buddhists, because I relate very much with the Buddhists, and from my experience going there, and what I've learned, and their teachings are a lot closer to I uh, what I've seen and what I believe. Um, so yeah, this thing that's about to happen. I don't want to put fear in anybody, but I would just say your greatest protection is to get next to that thing that you call God.
Mhm.
He's going to protect all of those who put their faith in him, whatever you call it, and that is your greatest protection.
I've had visions too, and what I've been told to tell people is put light around yourself, your property, and see
Mm,
light emanating to other people, even as they pass by, that they can leave the fires and the darkness of what they're
mm,
experience a little light and put that protection around themselves.
yes,
We all have that power of,
yes, we do.
no matter what is burning down around us, no
Yes,
matter what is
and
falling apart around us.
that's
And another
that's
thing
beautiful.
that hit me is So many spiritual teachers are talking about like, oh, in 2 years, 4 years, everything's going to be fine. I'm like, no, I'm looking at my students who are 20 and I see them rebuilding the world. And I'm in
Hmm.
at early 50s, like the
Yes,
20s or, so that's a long time from now. That's
yes,
30
yes.
years from now when the world will be new.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's a new world coming, and it's gonna have to go through really some powerful birth pains to bring this new world, and there's gonna be chaos. There's gonna be so much chaos, and yet after that, yes, the new world, the new beautiful world that we all are hoping to see, is coming.
And we can all start creating it. I'm seeing people
Hmm.
start regenerative farms and going back to the soil and creating
Yes.
different kind of schools. And I think there's always beauty and love that's evolving. And if near-death experiences teach us anything, they teach us to teach other people how to live,
Mm.
how to,
Yes.
and I'm sure you're doing that in some
Yeah.
ways.
Yes. I that's exactly what I was sent back to do, was teach. You know, they've shown me my end. They show me what time I'm how much time I have, and I'm cool with that. I'm fine with it, and I'm just here to teach, and with we'll call it, with all the love I can put into this saying, with reckless abandon. That's what I'm doing. Um Only now have I been invited, outside of the United States to speak, to speak at these awakening conferences. And I'm taking every opportunity to spread this word. I want to, before we go any further, I want to thank you for having me here. It is always an honor to be able to speak this, and to fulfill that promise that I made to that thing we call God, the universe, when I stood up there. And platforms like yours, they help me to get this word out and to speak. So I thank you for that as well.
Oh, well, I thank you for this conversation. And if there's anything you want to leave people with, if you want to just bring it through Metatron, like how to let go of fear in these times and anxiety in these times and really embrace their purpose, I'd love to hear it.
Okay. So what I was shown is that we all have this power that I exude, that I have. It is for everyone. Now, most people, they'll see me and they'll say, I want that power. You can have it. Now, are you willing to to go through, you know, to get it? How bad do you want it? I spent many days listening to affirmations, many days, hours, many thousands of hours listening to affirmations to reprogram my subconscious mind to where I can look at myself and love myself, because there's so much. You want this power, you have to want it. You have to want it. You have to spend your every waking hour searching for it, reaching for it, striving for it. Turn off your television. I will tell you that first, because they are bombarding your subconscious mind with the negative things of this world, and we create with our subconscious mind. So when you have these negative things in your minds, you're seeing the killings, you're seeing the violence, you're seeing all of this, you are creating those things and you don't even realize it. You're creating it in the world. And this is where I say there are those powers that they are trying to change our thinking, and the way they do it is not by telling you that you're bad. Well, they tell you in so many ways, but they are also just putting it in your mind. When they show you the violence, when they show you the gore, when they show you the bad things of this world, I call it the bad news. I don't call it the news. It's the bad news, because they'll give you 99 things that are bad, and then they'll say, oh, and in the good news in your neighborhood, they were giving out candy up at the store up here, and but they've already put in. So we all have this power, and you can tap into it. It lies dormant within every one of us. Some are born. That is amazing to see some of these people that are born with it. They've had it all their lives and they know what it is. I love those people. I have a friend who's like that. He's the way he helped me. He guided me for those 6 months where I was trying to figure out. I couldn't believe, but that's the universe working in your life. That I had one friend of all these many people that I know that knew a little bit about this, and he guided me into loving myself, because that's where it starts. Once you love yourself, man, you can create whatever you want. We are born creators, and they try to cut it from us when we are born. After dying from those pills, I don't put anything foreign into my body. I eat fruits and vegetables. I eat fish. I become a pescatarian or whatever they call it. I don't know. Whatever they call it.
Pescatarian, yes.
I eat
Mediterranean
fruits.
diet's very healthy. That's how people
Yes,
live longer.
yes, and so even the food is healing. It's healing. They've gotten us away from eating real food.
No, it's
Most
terrifying.
and
Go to
so
farmers markets mainly.
yes, and what people don't understand is this is the most powerful, most magnificent machine to ever exist, and it's our human body. It heals you. It listens to you. I can command my body to do what I want it to do. If I have an ailment, I can command the sickness away. I've done it many times. Just things like that, and we all have this power.
And we can
And
start in simple ways doing
yeah,
it.
yes.
Whenever I catch someone say, "Oh, I always get sick this time of year," I go, "Nope, no, no, say it
Mm,
again,"
mm, mm,
and
mm, mm.
I
Yes.
physically make them say it differently.
Yes, you speak, and that's one of our powers is the words. The power of life and death is in our tongue. It's in so many religions. So many religions teach us that. So many denominations, so many things tell us that our words have power. Our every word have power. So if we're telling ourselves, "I'm stupid, I always get sick," guess what? The Lord of the law will give you that. He'll give you stupid. He'll give you sickness. He gives you whatever you ask for. This is amazing to know that it gives you whatever you ask for, and now you have to figure out how to ask. And the way the one thing that I learned was the power of I am. This power that whatever you put behind your I am, you become. You know, and that I speak these 96 affirmations daily. In the beginning, it was 10 times a day, 100 times a day. I would say 96 affirmations back to back to back to back. And you become what you say you are. And so if you say, and then you have to, the mind speak. There's this, I call it the monkey mind or your carnal mind. It'll tell you everything that's wrong with life. We have 66,000 thoughts that we think of every day that go run through our mind, and you have the power to weed out every one of them and tell it what to do. And this is how I do it. When a negative thought comes to me, I immediately stop it in its tracks and I tell it no. What's going to happen is, and then I tell it what is going to happen. And that is it. That's what you need to do. If you entertain that thought, it starts to bring up emotion. Now emotions and feeling gets the blessing. So if you're bringing up negative emotions, you're going to get negative life. you know you have to stop those thoughts in their tracks, speak to them and tell them what you want them to be. If you have fear, tell fear that you're brave. Tell it, just speak to it. You tell the fear in your life that you're brave 10,000 times, and I guarantee you fear will not be there anymore. Fear will not come.
And
um
that's a beautiful message. And maybe the message everyone needs to make this transition easier is to let go of their fear, to step into
yeah,
the bravery. And if everyone steps into their power, then this will be so much easier.
yeah, yeah,
That's my
yeah,
feeling.
yes. And if I could say anything, there's nothing to fear. You pass from this life and you stand before glory, and there's only love there. And if you pass from this life and you've done everything right, you're on to the third heaven and other dimensions in this existence. you know
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Jeff, for your wisdom and your story and for just sharing your light with us. It's wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate you. I appreciate everything that you're doing for this awakening as well, and I thank you.